covering the High Plains with news, weather, and information. From TV23 Studios in Sublette, this is High Plains Today.
Hi, everybody. It is Friday, January 29th, right here on High Plains Today. Thanks for tuning in. We got a special edition today. We are going to be spending this half hour talking to Sally Cauble. She is a member of the State Board of Education, District 5. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff. They have a new vision out, and we're going to talk about that today. Sally, good to see you today.
Good to see you, Chris. Been a long time.
Well, it hasn't been that long. It has been a little while, though.
Yes, it has.
How's things?
Things are going great.
Good.
Appreciated your time on the local school board. You did a great job.
Yeah, I guess. But it was fun. It was a learning
That's right.
experience.
And you really cared about those kids.
I do. I care about education in Kansas, which is right now kind of in an upheaval, but we're not going to talk about any of that.
Well, we might at the end.
Okay, all right. You guys at the Department of Education now, your new commissioner, Dr. Watson, was out, and he traveled the state, a couple different times, on a listening tour, and you guys came up with a new vision for the Kansas State Department of Education.
That is right, Chris, only we are not the ones that came up with the new vision. It's the Kansans that came up with the new vision. We traveled and we did 25 different communities and got their opinion of what a successful 24-year-old would look like. And through those tours, very interesting on the results that we got. There was something like 23% said that academics was important. 70% came out that the soft skills on that were more important in job search.
Soft skills. Okay.
Soft skills.
All right. Like?
Your character skills.
Okay.
Showing up on time.
Work ethic, those types of things?
Ethics. Not thinking that you're going to start at the top, that you might have to start at the bottom. And those skills, interview skills. Those type of skills were very important for our youth to learn. You know, a lot of people say those are the skills that you learn at home. Unfortunately, they are not being at home all the time. And many schools are already doing character ed and the soft skills. People just aren't aware of it. But the Kansans said that those were important. They thought they should be taught at school. But they also said that career exploration needs to start earlier than post-secondary education. Now, when I talk about post-secondary education, I'm talking about four-year colleges, community colleges, and technical schools. And if we could get the verbiage to switch from college to post-secondary, I think we would all have a better understanding.
Well, and that's kind of where things are going, too, because you've got to get, because you're trying to get these kids, I don't know if you guys use the phrase anymore, college and career ready. Do you still use that at all?
Well, actually, the state of Kansas doesn't anymore.
Okay.
We are not using college and career ready. What we are using is that what every Kansan student needs to be successful. And that starts off what we think that to be successful for every student is they're going to have academics. They're going to have cognitive thinking. You know, what we missed through No Child Left Behind was that they couldn't use their information that they learned. They could regurgitate it, which is kind of a bad term, but they couldn't apply it. And so those cognitive skills were very important.
Well, No Child Left Behind was kind of famous for teaching kids to take tests.
Right, and we're done with all of that.
Through thank goodness.
The new reauthorization of the SEA, which we'll come back to, Chris, but I want to go ahead and finish what we think that these kids need to know, because, they need technical skills. And what we've added through this new vision is civic engagement,
okay,
which is volunteerism, which is registering to vote, being a part of a community, that they have a responsibility to that community if they're living in that community. And some schools were doing this already with, they already say you have to have so many volunteer points.
Okay, yeah, a lot of districts do that, right?
But that hasn't been statewide, and we're saying that
it's not?
No, it hasn't been. But we're saying that that's very key to the development of a child. In fact, the lieutenant governor came and visited with us and wants to work with us on having the government classes or American history somewhere. The locals would put in that test that the migrants take to become not migrants. Help me
Immigrants.
out. Immigrants. The immigrants take to become a citizen.
Yeah.
And many people, if they ever saw that test, they wouldn't be able to pass it either.
I've seen parts of it, yeah.
Yes, but we really feel like that our successful Kansas student needs to be able to know what's on that test and be able to pass it.
Okay.
And that's part of civic engagement. And so we're going to be working with the Attorney General on this.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and I want you to explain to us how we're going to try and get to that point.
I would love to.
All right, stick around. Where are we at? We'll be back right after this.
You're watching High Plains Today on TV23 with host Chris Jewell. TV23's internet service and 4G live streaming provided by United Wireless. Coverage you deserve. Service you expect. United Wireless.
And we're back. Okay, I am sitting here. I'm with Sally Cauble. She is a member of the State Board of Education, and we're talking about the new vision for the Kansas Department of Education. And you guys have laid out this new vision and how you're going to or how you're going to move forward with this new vision of getting kids, instead of getting them ready for college, just getting them ready for life in general, whether that be a 4-year college, a 2-year college, technical school, certification, any of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So how do we move towards that?
Well, one of the key components to doing that would be individual plans of study. And these can be start either in middle school or in high school by the schools. Some of the schools are already doing this. They might take a Cooter test in which I don't know about you, but I did that in college, and what it said was that I'd be a great nun. But, but you know, what it tells you is, are you good with, I needed to be somewhere working with people, working in social services type thing. But it'll lead the kids, are they good in math? Are they good in English? So, and then what we want to do is find that that special place that kids really like to be. What is their passion? Okay. And if we can develop that passion into what they want to make a living out of, they will be very happy adults.
Okay.
And so that is part of our vision, is making an individual plan of study for each student on their passion.
All right. So with all that said, though, that sounds like the Primrose Lane. Boy, by that, oh yeah, we can do that.
But it's not a track system.
But how are you going to how are schools going to have to change how they operate to accomplish that?
Well, those schools are going to have to meet with parents and students on an individual basis. And they're going to have to sit down with the parents, and they're going to need to sit down with the student, and they're going to say, this is what this test brought up. Do you have any idea what you'd like to do? Well, I tell you what, there's not very many 13 or 14-year-olds that even have a clue.
I'm still not sure I know what I want to do.
I know. And the last thing we want to do is put a student into a track system in which it doesn't make them, but we want them to explore different avenues. So this is really going to take the whole town to do. Business and industry is going to become very important to high school curriculum. If they can help us shadow, have maybe some of them can provide, during the summer, provide a
Internships, shadowing, all
Some
those types of things?
internships are paid, some aren't. We are in the process of designing what different levels that businesses can help us with, whether they just like to do a shadowing, whether they'd like to do an internship. And so it's really going to break down the silos of business and industry in your town here, the schools here, and the community over here. We're really going to have to break those down. And you know, you have liberal school system, which you were part of, and Garden City, which has done an awesome job of this bridges.
Yes.
It's going to look,
I went to a building.
Yes.
Those building bridges deals that they have are really, really cool. So this
That's
is going to change the culture.
Yes.
This is going to change the culture of how K-12 is viewed in communities, right?
That's right. The other thing is, it is a cultural change. And that's why I'm here today. Because without everybody's vision of this cultural change, we can't get it. If you think that your kids are going to go to a school just like you went to, you know, it can't be that way anymore.
No.
Because our kids are competing in the world today. They are not
from a
competing.
technology standpoint, things are completely different when you and I went to school.
That's right.
And even my kids who were in their early 30s, and your son and daughter, it's different from when they went.
But our school structure, our school systems are not any different than they used to be.
So where do we want to start all this? At what age? I mean, you start this at pre-K, kindergarten, in the elementary? I mean,
well,
when do you
there's
start?
several phases to this, but if we stay on the career exploration phase that we're talking about right now, you really start, and they're doing this. When your child was in grade school, did they ever go to the fire station?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, or have somebody come in and talk about different careers.
Right.
Or bring your parents in and they get to talk about their jobs. That's career exploration at an elementary level.
Okay.
They move into middle school, and this is when we lose the kids, because relevance in education becomes not as important in the middle school. So let's find out their passion. Let's find out their interests. Let's teach them what they need to know through those passions and those interests. And then as they move on up into high school, they can do some more career exploration. We are hoping with the new reauthorization of ESEA, which is No Child Left Behind, we will not have to give our state testing past a sophomore.
Oh, okay.
By the time you're a sophomore in high school, these tests should have told the teachers whether you're going to be ready or not. Okay?
So you can work on that in the last 2 years of high school.
Right. So if you're in a remedial, if you really need remediation, that can be done in high school instead of waiting.
Okay.
We have many schools in which students are able to get a certificate, or they're doing community college before they leave high school. Those are the kids that go on to some type of higher post-secondary because they know they can do it.
And remediation is a big problem in colleges today.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right.
So if we can get this remediation done, you cannot be successful with a high school diploma anymore. You have to have some type of post-secondary.
Okay. Hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to come back, and we're going to revisit the vision, and I'm going to let you get everything you want to tell me about the new vision out.
Okay.
All right? Stick around. Be back after this. And welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with Sally Cauble. She is a member of the State Board of Education, District 5. We've been talking about the new education vision for the state of Kansas and how the culture of schools is going to have to change, how we're reaching our children is going to have to change. Okay, the one thing we haven't talked about is, okay, we have to change the school culture in the community, but do we have to change how we accredit or what we do with schools once we start this progress?
Yes, we are. And we're in the process of defining those outcomes for schools. Remember, Chris, it used to be one test on one day determined whether a school was successful or not. Well, we all know that that was bogus. Well, we're talking about different outcomes now. We're talking about outcomes that What is your graduation rate?
So graduation rates are going to play into this.
Yes. How many students are you graduating? In the state of Kansas, we graduate 83% of our students. But we can do better. But we need our graduation rate to be a little different than the federal government, because they only acquire you only get to count those that graduate in 4 years. And we all know that to reach some students, alternative ways need to be met in a 5-year cohort, or maybe even 6, because some of our students, especially in this area, are working to help their own family. And so they may go to an alternative school. So we got to think of graduation rates. Is that child unsuccessful because it took them longer? No, I think it shows persistence. Wouldn't you like to hire somebody that has persistence?
So along with that then, would this look at increasing kids that are ready to either go on to a 4-year school or a community college or even get a certificate program out of high school? Because I know there are some high schools in the state of Kansas, well, Kansas City, Kansas is an example, that they are making every student that comes out of there, graduates, has some kind of a certificate.
Yes. In fact, one of our outcomes, I need to use my cheat sheet here a little bit. We want the schools to increase the percentage of students completing a credential or pursuing post-secondary education. The one thing that we don't do, that we need to do in this new culture, is the valedictorian stands up there and is greatly, what about the kid that got a credential and is graduating with that and is going off to work with Microsoft for $50,000 next year?
Yeah, that's true.
And they're graduating from high school.
That's true, because you don't hear about those.
No, they need to be recognized, because to get that, their math skills and their communication skills to get that certificate is just as high a skill as the valedictorians. And so we have to think differently about these kids getting credentials. These STEM programs that the schools are putting on are producing a lot of credentials that are going to make these children very successful. We talked about decreasing remedial.
Right.
Remediation is one of them. The individual plans of study is vital. And we want the schools to monitor their own social and emotional factors. Remember, we were talking about the soft skills. They will measure those on their own. But one of the important things is our largest gap are the students coming into kindergarten. That's our biggest gap in kids learning, because some have never been to a preschool and they come in and they haven't been away from mom and daddy. Then you have those that come in that have no English.
I was going to say, yeah,
language
you get a lot of
skills.
non-English speakers.
Non-English
that
speaking.
age.
Then we have some that have been in preschool since 3rd grade. And so the gap coming into kindergarten is our largest gap.
Well, that's what they say. I mean, if I remember correctly, a child who has preschool and a child who just goes straight into kindergarten, they're 18 months apart on development for school.
And they really don't get caught up till after 3rd grade. Because, you know, up to 3rd grade, you're learning to read. And after 3rd grade, you're reading to learn. So we need kids caught up by 3rd grade. But the gap just seems to keep growing on those kids. And they may not get caught up. And if they're not caught up by then, their chances of being a dropout are already there.
So we really need to hit this, instead of calling this from K-12, this needs to be pre-K through 12 then, right?
Yes. And we really need that all-day kindergarten.
Yeah, there's a lot of districts, I mean, that do have all-day kindergarten, but there's quite a few large districts, well, Liberal is one, that don't have it.
And a lot of schools they're all-day, but the second part of that day is paid for. But, you know,
Okay.
I want to make sure that everybody understands that our new vision is about each child. Every child is important, and that we want to lead the world in our student success. So our new vision is Kansas leads the world in success of each student. Every
you guys
one
will
of
get there.
those kids are important.
I think you guys will get there because you have a pretty passionate group on the State Board of Education. You guys are going to have your work cut out for you, though, this year with the legislature and everything that's going on. We aren't going to get into that because that's a mess.
We could have a whole new segment just on that.
We
couldn't
could. We could do an hour on that.
But you know what? The schools and the local schools care about each one of those kids. And that's what's important.
Local control.
Local control. Each child is important because they are our future.
They are. They're going to be in charge.
That's right.
They're going to be in charge. When I'm needing somebody to take care of me, they're going to be in charge. By golly, I want them to know what they're doing.
They're going to be behind our wheelchairs.
That's right. Sally, thanks for coming in today.
You're welcome.
You got your job cut out for you, I tell you what, in Topeka this year.
And I love every minute of it.
Last year was enough, but this year I think this is a do-over, isn't it?
You know, Chris, you might find this interesting. I do color my hair.
Thanks, Sally. And have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday.
I do.
Keep up to date with the latest information from TV23 on our Facebook page, KDGL TV.